Áudio é foda, né?
What is good, everybody? Welcome back to season 2 of FBS Friday. This is a new season. We started this last year. We're keeping the ball rolling, man. This is going to be a great season. Of course, we got a lot of stuff to talk about that we didn't talk about during the offseason because we took a little break from it. But we back now in here tonight. We are joined with the panel, the usual members. My co-host, Clay McCarter, right here. That's my guy. We got Kelly Flicks from the Lace Up podcast. Of course, check out his content because he been making a few people upset, but it's real. What he's saying, real though. I like that. He has original takes. I love it. And then of course, y'all know Blue. Blue's going to be on a little bit later. He's going to join us. But when he comes in, we're going to catch him up to speed. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I want to start off by talking about DJ Uyunglele. All right, because it's his turn now, man. You know what I'm saying? DJ, his career, some would say he hasn't lived up to the 5-star height. You know what I'm saying? He was one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Came down to Clemson or Oregon. I wanted him really bad. He chose Clemson. I was real upset about that. But he's other than the Notre Dame game back during the COVID season, I think that's when he looked his best in college football. But from then, he's kind of been shaky. He goes to Oregon State, kind of revives his career a little bit. But at this point, we see what we're gonna get from DJ. We see the kind of player that he is, looking at his career stats here. But now he's at Florida State in his last year of eligibility, and he's obviously going to try to play to get drafted as high as he possibly could. But the question is, how do you judge him in this final season? Like, what do you judge him off of? What's the ceiling for DJ Uyunglele? Because I don't think, I think he could make it to the national championship. A first round pick, I'm not willing to spend that on him at this point, because I've got years of tape on him. But how do you judge DJ? Like, what's the best thing he can get out of balling out this season?
I don't know. I mean, coming out of high school, I was like, man, he's extremely gifted, played at a great high school, competitive, had the awards, the rankings, everything. Obviously going into Clemson, and you see the situation he goes into, departures of some coordinators, shake up with the whole staff there. Kind of when Clemson started having a little bit more of the downside of the post Deshaun, Trevor Lawrence era, and then kind of getting him out of there and trying to see if about a fresh start. I think what he did in Oregon State was good for his career. It showed it seemed like he was a little bit more confident. Mm-hmm. But I think that getting with Norvell and being able to kind of try to see what this is probably arguably the most competitive team that he's going to have around him within probably at least like the last 2 years, maybe. I wouldn't really. I mean, possibly just because I don't know. I mean, in 2020 and 2021, Clemson's still been competitive the last 5-6 seasons, even after winning the national championships and being that consistent in the playoffs. But I think with the group of talent around him this year this is definitely his make or break year. I mean, the writing's on the wall for that. But I know we gave him a lot of crap last season, but I mean, the nice thing is he has a fallback on baseball. I mean, he's probably might be a little rusty or anything, but I'm hoping he balls out this year. I'm just hoping he doesn't beat Florida.
Yeah, I really think with DJ, we're getting to the point where he's a guy that we all have to understand that he's a game manager, right? He's not going to win too many games for you. He didn't throw for 300 yards in any of the 13 games he played last year. He actually hasn't thrown for 300 yards since he's been back at Clemson, which would date back to like 16 or 17 games. So when you think about DJ and what his actual ceiling is, you got to think it's going to be about higher volume passing games. He doesn't have that signature game through his career of like 5 years. It's really astonishing when you think about it because of the amount of big stages he's been on. At what point is DJ actually going to break through? I'm not sure, but with Florida State, you have a ton of big games this year, and you have a real chance to show yourself because if I'm DJ, I have nothing to lose, right? I'm a middle of the road quarterback up until this point in my career. I'm at a Power 5 or a Power 4 school at this point, and I'm playing with some of the best talent I've had since Clemson. You've got to come out and throw for some 300-yard games, 4-touchdown games, show yourself and really put on for your legacy. What is DJ's legacy?
Right. Do you believe that they'll maybe Norvell will give him the opportunity to like maybe put the game in his hands and give him the amount of plays to throw for 300 yards? Like, you think they'll trust him like that?
I don't believe so. I mean, they were in some of those situations last year, obviously, but it was more of after like the Travis injury. I don't know that necessarily he's going to trust him that much right off of the rip. It's going to have to be one of those things where he's going to have to come out and ball out early to kind of get that trust. I mean, I think they're going to pound the rock a lot this year. I mean, they have a pretty decent running back squad out there. O-line's, pretty decent. They lost a good bit of talent, key contributors on offense. Jared Verse, I don't know if y'all. I mean, I remember we talked about who's our defensive rookie of the year kind of predictions and who's going to be one of the more turnouts. Jared Verse, I don't know if you guys have seen that kid for some of these things that the videos lurking around Twitter of what he's doing in camp. I mean, he is bullying grown offensive linemen, pushing him around, getting what he wants. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, he did that at FSU and he's still doing it in the league, which is amazing. But, man, I don't even think that I see him in. He probably isn't even going to be worth a risk as a top 5 round guy. I mean, didn't Spencer even go 6th round?
Spencer did. Yeah, Spencer was a 6th rounder, right?
I think Spencer is 150% better than DJ.
There you have it. All right. Honestly, I agree with you. I'm just the way they made it seem in the media like he can kind of revive his career with a good year. I just don't see it happening at this point. I think he is what he is. But let's talk about the NCAA with the transfer portal. Apparently, they are in favor of removing the spring transfer portal so that you can stabilize rosters a little bit. And of course, the four power conferences, they have all been in support of this, as well as the Coaches Association. Surprise, surprise. How do y'all feel about it though? Are y'all in support of this? Like, would you like to see the spring portal just be eradicated? Because of guys in college now, if they want to transfer, they're gonna have to do it in the winter because if this is passed, it's gonna take effect in 2025. So are y'all in favor of getting rid of the spring transfer portal window?
I mean, I kind of see it from both sides. I say yes and no. I mean, at this point now, I mean, majority of these guys are getting paid, at least something. And if you want to, quit your job and go to another job, it shouldn't be kind of capped off at a window. I definitely understand the stabilizing and bolstering of rosters going into the starts of seasons. But, I think that it's going to be beneficial and also counteractive against you really figure out the guys that want to be there, and you also see the guys that are going to end up being stuck in certain situations where they want to get up out of there. And are they going to be a locker room cancer? Are they going to be kind of just maybe a distraction because they know they don't want to be there, not showing up for practice? Is that what stumbles down the hill aftermath kind of thing? Who knows? But I mean, leave it the way that it is. If guys want to dip because they don't get the roster spot or they don't get the spot on the depth chart that they want to be in, so be it. I mean, these guys it's turned into a business side of it now. I mean, they're getting an education now. It's supposed to be at the forefront. which we obviously would hope that the education's still at the forefront. But at the end of the day, it's a business. These boys are there to play ball.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing for me, right? Like as a coach, yeah, I get to keep you. Like you don't get to leave. Like right before the season, I get to keep you and keep this roster spot, and I don't have to worry as much. But where's your head at? Because clearly you don't want to be here. You know what I'm saying? Are you gonna go out and give me your effort at this point, or are you just gonna wait until you are available to leave and then just get out of here? Just gonna do the bare minimum.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a tough part, and you talk about spring football. Spring football, a lot of depth charts are made in the spring, and then they just carry on into the fall. And really, I'm a fan of this spring transfer portal because part of it is if you're a third string guy in the spring, you're not playing in the fall, right? And if you don't love this place, you have other options, go take them. Maybe this is a great time. I think if anything, maybe shorten the window up a little bit because a lot of these players already know where they're going when the portal opens, but maybe shorten the window up. But to eliminate that whole window there is it's a little surprising because you think about how early the portal opens after the actual college football season. Well, actually during bowl season, and to not have it open again to like almost the next year or, until January, then to the next year it really wouldn't make much sense. I think when it comes to college football, recruiting now, a lot of it's done in the summer. We talk about all this transfer portal stuff and guys moving around. I think the summer or that late spring is a great time for transfer portal and transfer players to move around. It kind of gives time for those guys to move. And in the early part of the year, we see more of the high school recruits make their moves. So I think, keeping this portal open somewhat separates transfer portal window in recruiting and high school recruiting just based on where it is in the year.
I also think like the guys who are in favor of this, the coaches at least, they want to get a little bit more control back. Like they don't like the way that the game is headed, obviously. And if they could take something like this out, they're all for it. It may not even really benefit them for real. They can't stand the way that college football is going. They feel like players have a little too much power. So they're like, oh yeah, like we're all for this. Make them stay. They kind of have that old school mindset. You know what I'm saying? So I see what you're saying. Paul Feinbaum though. A little while back, he threw a shot. He threw a shot at Dabo over there at Clemson. You know what I'm saying? Basically saying his career is in the rearview mirror, and that basically it's that way because he's too stubborn, okay, and that he doesn't want to adapt to the way that the transfer portal is. This has been a big topic with Dabo for a little while now, but Paul Feinbaum just really went in on him, basically saying like everything in Dabo's career is in the rearview mirror. He was once at the epicenter of college football, and because of his stubbornness and arrogance and short-sightedness, he no longer is. And then basically he should just collect his however many million he makes a year and just shut up at this point. So the thing is, though, in the past 10 seasons, I think this is the first time he hasn't won 10 games in a season, because they were 9-4 last year. That's still really good. He doesn't have that superstar quarterback like Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson to get him to the pinnacle, like how he was for that short period of time. But that's still a really good accomplishment. So if he's still having success and he's still winning these ACC titles, are we being too hard on Dabo? Like, is the criticism being too hard on Dabo, or should we not be okay with the fact that Clemson is just a good program now when we know what they could have been just because of what we've seen, during that era where they were duking it out with Alabama in the national championship? Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to use it as an example, but like, are you going to be content like as a Penn State or as a, pre last 4 or 5 years where, you go out as Michigan, you win 9, 10, maybe 11 games. And, at the end of the day that university's happy, administration's happy. You have that one game you win that's kind of like the Super Bowl that you beat your chest on until the next season with, for Clemson and Carolina, that role flipped so where the Clemson Carolina game doesn't hold as much weight as it used to because it was like very competitive. Carolina was doing their thing, and then Clemson was just doing their thing to where it was like 4 years, 5 years, just opposite sides of it. In terms of like, I think that maybe not being as harsh on Dabo is probably going to be the take that I want to go. And the reason being is when you see what he built the program to and what they had to achieve with the same staff and having the constants, the recruiting level that they did, and then the full landscape of college football changing on him with transfer portal opening. He doesn't hit the portal. He doesn't believe in doing that. He's very in his ways, the way that he is, different style, and it's Clemson style of football. I mean, he's, if I'm not mistaken, I believe once you commit to Clemson, you're not even allowed to take any other visits anywhere. I think that's, right. I'm pretty sure that's still his rule. Like, he's very big on that. Like, he will pull a scholarship from somebody. I think it's probably tough for him to kind of still trying to. You see, like a lot of these bigger coaches, like your Nick Saban, your Kirby Smarts. These guys can go through coordinators, and it's no problem. They don't skip a beat. They might not. They might drop 40 yards per game in passing, or 100, or maybe not 100 yards in rushing per game, or 20, 30 here and there. But I mean, he lost 2 guys that were with him for a number of years, and then you see. One goes to a much smaller school. One goes to another school, and he's starting to get Oklahoma competitive. I mean, they're starting to click a little bit here. They're going to go out and win the SEC in the next 3 years, I don't think. But I mean, they're doing it. So I mean, I think he just got to figure out, maybe wade through a couple of guys, and I think that he definitely has the potential. Man, people love Dabo. More people love Dabo than they don't like Dabo, and I think players love him. I think that he's a player's coach. He uplifts his guys even if they have a bad game. You'll never see him say anything negative, and he's really not in the media. He kind of keeps ducked off and. He's like, man, I'm going to go out here and we're going to work hard and do it our way. So I want to see them get back to being competitive. It's good for the state, honestly.
Yeah, I think Feinbaum's really jumping the gun here. You don't just lose your aura that easily, right? Dabo Swinney's been there since 2008. He's won almost 150 games at this point. When you really think about what Clemson is and what they've done, even putting out players, they have a ton of good coordinators that they've continued to put out the same way Clay was saying. It's hard to replace those guys and maintain your same success, right? Yep. And we even saw Clemson make it to an ACC championship like a year or two ago with DJU, and then he loses spot to Cade Klubnik in the championship game. So we still seen recent success from Clemson. I think that with the coordinator changeover, it's going to lead to sometimes tougher transitions for this team to continue their winning ways. But at the end of the day, I think Clemson, we're looking at really a new school blue blood, right? Like a type of Notre Dame or a Michigan or a Stanford, where they do things a certain way, right? We talked about Penn State a little bit too. They do things a certain way. And maybe Clemson just does things a certain way. And you can get away with that in the ACC, right? You're not held to the same standards that you're held to in the SEC or some other conferences in this perspective. So I really feel as though Clemson, they're at the cusp of doing something great every year. Right. And if they can do that or not, it's probably dependent on who Dabo brings in as coordinators and who he has to bring them over the top. But at the end of the day, Clemson isn't falling below 8 wins anytime soon.
No.
Okay. All right. How do y'all feel about Cade Klubnik, though? Like, he's been placement.
I think that coming in, I might not be pronouncing this the right way. Vizina, is that the freshman that they have coming in? He's their, which would I guess be their backup unless there's an upperclassman between him and Klubnik. He was I think a borderline 5-star. It's their bigger quarterback recruit that they have coming in for the future. Sidetrack, whatever. I was thinking of something a little bit different, but I think Klubnik, man, he's you've seen some of these throws that this kid makes when he's obviously it's easier to make really good throws when you're not pressured. But some of the throws that I've seen him make, like when they had like a little bit of a highlight kind of thing going for him in the offseason, I think he's good. I think he needs a little bit more time to kind of get like settled in there and really figure out what his identity is going to be. Is he, like you mentioned earlier, is he going to try to game manage, or are they going to try to put the win on his back if the defense isn't going to be able to hold it out for all 4 quarters? I think that Phil Maffa is a great running back. He's downhill, run between the tackles. A guy can get 3-4 yards to carry, no problem, until you got to swap him out. But I think what Clemson's really missing in the most recent success is they haven't had that guy at quarterback, and hopefully he can be that guy. But another thing too is the wide receiver room is definitely depleted. These days of these DeAndre Hopkins and Sammy Watkins and Justin Ross, I mean, T. Higgins, like those days, like they don't really have that guy like that can be like, all right, man, you could literally like let him take a drive over that could determine the outcome of a game, like we saw with Mike Williams against Alabama. The guy took the drive over, like throw me the ball and I'm going to win this game. Of course, he had stellar quarterback play, but Cade just needs a little bit more of the tools, and hopefully they're doing that on the trail. I don't pay too much about their recruiting because they recruit so well, but it's so under the radar good that they just develop them very well. You know what I mean? It's not like they're out here loading up with 5 and 6 5-star prospects. They have a ton of 4-star prospects, but they're very homegrown. They like to recruit a lot in the state and develop guys from South Carolina, which I think is maybe part of Dabo's philosophy. But I'm hoping that they put something together. Like I said, I'm all about the competitiveness for the state of South Carolina because it creates a lot of personality in football season, like within our area at least.
Okay. Now, I couldn't wait to talk about this one. Right, Deion in the headlines again. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know how Prime is, man. He's a very proud guy. He's not afraid to speak his mind about things, especially, because he keeps his ear to the streets. He stays on the internet. So if he see you talking about him or his family, or somebody that he loves or is cool with, he gonna let it be known. He ain't gonna act fugazi with you. So we're gonna look at the video on this viral moment that he had with the reporter, and I just want y'all to tell me what y'all think, because apparently this reporter called him a false prophet. You know what I'm saying? Amongst other things that he made in his article, and Deion called him out on that, and people were criticizing him. But let's see what he had to say about that, man. Because me personally, hold on.
Next guy.
Eric Christensen with CBS Sports Colorado.
CBS,
Tyler,
I'm not doing nothing with CBS. Next question.
Joe Rigo, Mile High
Ain't got nothing
Sports
to do with
Vegas.
you. It's above that. Ain't got nothing to do with you. I got love for you. I appreciate you, respect you. Ain't got nothing to do with you. They know what they did.
I'm here in Denver, not national.
You are who you are. CBS is CBS.
All right.
Joe
Ain't got
Rigo,
nothing
Mile
to
High
do with
Sports.
you. I respect you. That's why I told you that. I'm looking you in the eye as a man. I respect you. I got love for you. But what they did was foul.
Coach Sean Keeler, the Denver Post. Happy summer, my man.
You don't like us, man. Why do you do this to yourself?
Come on.
You don't like us.
Mark
You know
likes
you
me,
don't.
by the way.
Huh?
Yeah. Mark said he likes me.
No,
so
but
that's
you
one.
don't. Why do you
That's
do
one.
this, though?
No, sorry. Two-parter if I could.
No, I'm serious.
Football
Why do
question.
you do this? Like, you don't. Like, why do you do this?
No, it's not about that. Football question.
No,
Question.
why do you do this? Like, it would be hard for me to really engage in someone I don't like or something I don't like. I'm just asking why. Like, why?
Gotta pay
What
the
did
bills,
I
guys.
do?
You didn't do anything. It's not about that. But this
But
is a football
why?
question.
I'm asking you why.
Yeah, you can answer, but that's
Okay,
not
answer
germane
me.
to this.
What?
Yeah.
Because you want me to answer you. So
Yeah, okay, that's fine. That's fair.
Why?
Why? Because I have
Give me
questions.
your why.
What's your why? What do you want to know?
Why do you always on attack? Like, what did we do?
Where am I on attack today? Where am I on attack?
Yeah, I'm not gonna give you opportunities to be on attack. But I'm asking you why. Like, what does it do for you? Like, what happened?
It's not about me.
But what happened?
That's basically the gist of it. You know what I'm saying? They just kept going back. But what did y'all think, man, about this? Was he in the wrong for how he responded to that reporter about the things that was said about him?
He's been doing this for decades, man. Prime is prime. He is who he is. That aura, the personality, the ego, everything. I mean, if he didn't feel a certain way about it, the guy's very passionate about a lot of things. When you hear him talk, you can tell about just about any topic he ever touches. You can tell the guy is passionate about what he talks about. He says it with full emotions. He doesn't hide it, sugarcoat it, nothing. I think, man, if he doesn't want to answer the question, he don't have to answer the question. If he wants to say, man, listen, if you guys want to, talk foul and talk negative and I don't agree with it and not in line with it, I don't have to answer that question. I can go to the next reporter. I mean, if that's how he wants to handle it, he can handle it. He didn't belittle the guy. He didn't call him any names. He didn't say that, the network that you're with is tiny or you guys are nobodies. He didn't say nothing negative. All he asked him, the general question is, why do you keep doing this when I'm not going to give you an opportunity? Because all it is attack and attack and attack. I don't see anything wrong with it. He could have handled it way worse. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The ending of that was a little confusing too, because I thought they're gonna have a conversation. It was kind of like a standoff, so it was a little interesting. But I mean, when it comes to these like beat reporters for colleges, a lot of college beat reporters, there are definitely guys that just play like devil's advocate constantly and just push like negative news about the team or showing that the team might be losing or they might be losing certain players and stuff like that. And I think this whole thing with CBS is like based off a list or some type of article that came out, and maybe it wasn't against that. I mean, from that particular writer, but you know, like you said, Clay, prime is prime. You know what I mean? If he wants to beef with like a national publication, it's kind of like on him. And everybody just stands back and watches.
Yeah.
I did think it was a little odd to see a college football coach like actually not answer a question. So it's a little weird, but also it's Coach Prime. He's doing like the first, like in a lot of different things, and it's just the first of many.
He's
Like
not a PR trained guy. He's not a guy that goes and sits down and meets with a publicist and they say, "Oh, you can't say this, can't do that." Then he's been doing this for decades, man. Anytime a camera's on him, he's the same guy every single time. He might be angry or something, but he's just passionate. He's open. He doesn't care if he says something. He's saying it because he means it, and he's prime, man. I mean, that's who the guy is. I think it's not that big of a deal to probably half of the people that really, really genuinely care about it. They're just taking the writer's side.
I also think that the media kind of needs to get real on on what they expect from Prime, you know, how they react to Prime. Because it's like they love when the mood is good and, you know, he's outspoken and he's doing all these things and he's not really giving you the media trained answer. But then, you know, when things get a little serious, you know, and he ain't really in a happy mood. Now it's, he needs to be professional. This is a circus. This is, you know what I'm saying? It's all of these narratives. So like they need to kind of get acquainted or better acquainted with who they're dealing with. You know what type of coach he is by now. You know what I'm saying? I think they go back and forth between the line when everything's great and he's giving you great content to post, you know, for reels on social media, you love it. But then when he's upset, everybody got things to say. So they got to be a little bit more consistent on that.
What's the story from his draft day that everyone always talks about? The front office is trying to interview him, and one guy's trying to like pester him and interview him, and he looked at him and said, "What pick do y'all have?" And he said, like the 7th. He said, "I'll be gone by then. I don't need to talk to you."
That's a goated story, by the way. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Did y'all see today a random stat? He has the same career interceptions as Lee Corso at Florida State.
Shout out to Lee Corso.
I saw that as a highlight. It was a random stat of the day thing on Twitter, and it showed a picture of Lee Corso like cropped in the corner, and it said career interceptions at Florida State. Lee Corso and Deion Sanders was tied, I think, with like 13 or 14.
I ain't know Lee was a baller like that.
Me neither.
Hey, maybe back in the day when it was a little bit less athletic.
Yeah, what was Lee playing? He was playing corner out there or what? Now I want to see the film.
All right, so Clay, I couldn't wait to get your opinion on it. Y'all for the second year in a row, bro. Y'all got the hardest schedule.
Yeah,
including this insane 5-week stretch of games.
Yeah.
Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State.
Yep.
How in the world are y'all gonna make it out of that? I don't know, but Clay, obviously you got to go first. How do you feel about this, bro? What would be a success to you looking at this schedule? What would you be happy with?
All right, you want me to go down the road, or do you want me to just talk about the schedule a little bit first? Do you want me to go down the row and say what I think, and I'll give it short and sweet?
Yeah.
Down the row, I like the upset over Miami first game.
Okay.
Stanford dub. I like A&M game. I think it's going to be a little bit difficult, but staff change, and they're still trying to figure, I guess, maybe find an identity still. We have returning talent, and I think people are kind of sleeping on that. We had a lot of really close possession games of whether kind of didn't translate to the record, but that's neither here nor there. I like us in the A&M game. I like us against Mississippi State. It's going to be tough. Mississippi State teams consistently year after year, they just find a way to develop talent and be competitive. I'm going to say I like us there. I like us UCF game. I think the real challenge is going to be from Tennessee to the end of the season. I think the first 5, I think we could go in the first 5, 4-1, 5-0 would be nice. And then from there, it's going to get real tough. I mean, we somehow randomly, blew the doors off Tennessee last year. Kentucky game, we let, Ray Davis look like Herschel Walker. Georgia game is going to be tough, obviously. Texas game is going to be tough. LSU's games always can go, in my opinion. And I have a really good friend of mine. You remember Damon Miller? His brother Savon's a diehard LSU fan. We talk smack to each other every single year, but we always agree on one thing is it don't matter if I'm ranked number 1 and you're ranked number 20. It don't matter if it's vice versa, unranked, whatever. That game can go either way every year. It just all depends on what key plays get the crowd involved and who shows up and who stops one person's strong point. Because that's what happens. You either shut down someone's passing game and then you got to force them to run the ball, but whatever. Ole Miss game is going to be tough because Lane Kiffin is out for us. I think that he's always had like a little bit of a small vengeance there because at one point he was supposed to be a head coach at Florida. He was interviewed. He was linked to it. We went with Mullen. Don't know why. And then Florida State, it's all going to be about how DJ plays. DJ goes out there and balls. I think that we'll be in a good spot. I'm liking a couple potential upsets, but I'd be happy with over 500 with this schedule. Just being 100% realistic, I'm not going to go out here and tell you that we're going to upset Georgia. We're going to upset Texas. We're going to upset Ole Miss. I'm not going to sit here and say that. I'd be lying. But I'd be happy with maybe a hair above 500 season, but I like it. It makes it a little bit fun knowing that if we somehow make it out of there pretty competitive, it shows that, hey, Billy's starting to do something because he is on the hottest of hot seats from what the country's saying right now. I think I want to give him a little bit of time. He's got to get at least one season with DJ, in my opinion. Got to get one season with DJ because Graham's going to be the guy next year. They're talking that DJ's showing up. He's balling, but we're going to see a little bit of a 2-quarterback system from all the stuff that I've been gathering through some of the writing that's going on, talks on Twitter. You're going to see DJ randomly coming in and out of games for drives and stuff to kind of keep people on their toes with knowing that he can be mobile. He can run the ball if he needs to.
Okay.
Hey man, give me 5 wins for Florida this year. I got guaranteed loss to Florida State at the end of the year. I think that's just that stretch and then play Florida State. Like who's left? Who's gonna be left on the team? Like we're gonna be looking at like red shirts, the bottom of the 3rd string, 4th string guys. I think that Florida's really talented. I think that this would be a good year to help reset the Florida program, right? To really usher in DJ as a starting quarterback, start to put the pieces around him that he needs in the future to succeed. But winning this year should be out of the question. I think this year should be strictly let's develop our young guys, including our quarterback. Not really sure why Graham Mertz is even in the mix at this point. I think the saving grace for Napier is DJ at quarterback. So I think that we'll see him earlier than normal. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays majority of the Samford game. And if he shows out, we start to see him more and more throughout games and even the UCF game, right? But when it comes to Florida, this is a tough schedule. I don't take you guys really serious in contention for the SEC this year. So I think development for the Florida Gators.
Absolutely. Getting some more depth at positions that I think were a little bit lackluster when you left the Mullen tenure. We got really, really thin at that O-line room, struggling to put guys out there that can, play a couple games stretch in a row without, injuries getting banged up and having to move people around from different positions. I'm happy with the wide receiver room. Wide receiver room's finally gotten a little bit all right. We got some playmakers and, had a couple of key transfers that filled some spots that we needed. I like Asa Turner coming over at safety. He's going to bring some veteran experience that's kind of a younger room for Florida. I'm excited for these running backs, man. That's been the hottest take about Florida football this offseason. Majority of the articles, you want to go to Bleacher Report, ESPN, anything, when they start talking about the offseason for us, aside from, doing some recruiting and stuff a little early. The running back talks. A lot of reporters talking about some running back talks. I'm hearing Jaden Ball has been a little bit of a man amongst boys in terms of his overall size, that young. He's, sitting at 236 pounds. and he's young. He can move, and he's not scared of contact. Is what they're saying. I've seen a couple of videos of him just catch that ball, and it looks like Leonard just shooting out. Leonard Fournette just shooting out of the backfield. Second the ball hits his gut, and he's just like, man, full head of steam. I'm gonna hit somebody, and if I fall over, I fall over. If they fall over, I'm gonna try to keep running. But we'll see. I'm excited, even though it's gonna be a losing season. I'll accept it, but I'm excited.
Okay. Saban, right? Not choosing his former team to win the SEC. He chose Georgia and Texas to represent the SEC in the conference title game. And then he came back and said that it was rat poison for Alabama. Motivation. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, I don't believe that. I think he genuinely, in his heart of hearts, because he's not a head coach anymore. He's on TV now. He's just doing his job. He feels like, hey, Texas got this and Georgia got this. I don't know what made him choose Texas, but that's his opinion. I think he had to go back and say, oh, I said that because I wanted Alabama to be motivated, because you don't want to, you're a god in them. You don't want to burn any bridges, not this quick. You don't want to get them on your bad side. Even one of the players said, even one of his former players was like, hey man, he always taught me not to listen to guys who aren't in the building, who don't do what we do. I'm not going to take advice from a guy who is playing golf now. You know what I'm saying? Like, he came out and said that. So I really think Saban only said this to maybe keep the pressure off of him a little bit. But I feel like that was his honest opinion. Yeah. He doesn't think Alabama's going to be there, and we shouldn't really be mad at him for that. So is it really a big deal that he didn't pick Alabama to be in the title game?
It's an alternate version of being a homer. It's using it as motivation, like you said. The guy is, think about this. The guy is, there's no bridges being burned when he built the bridge. You know what I mean? Like, he's God in the state of Alabama. I don't think there's probably anything he could say or do that's wrong in the version of Alabama's eyes. They'll still love him and love him with open arms, everything. I think it was more of the motivation aspect. I think it kind of gets the people like, oh, hold on. It gets people talking about it, and players are probably like, hold on, what? Like, Coach Saban said, what? Like, hold on. And we got to go out here and prove him wrong now, because a lot of those guys he coached for, 3 going on 4 years, unless you're, their yearly draft pool selection, which is however many first-round picks they seem to have every single year. But I think he's also kind of maybe giving a little bit of praise out there to 2 of his, coaching tree guys, saying, hey, Sark is doing his thing in Texas, and, Kirby's obviously doing his thing in Georgia, and, he's saying that they got it right now. But at the same time, as if he's doing his motivation, he definitely knows the caliber of talent that he has at Alabama. And I think they're still going to be extremely competitive. I think they still have an ability to have a 9-10 win season minimum, and they could still probably make something shake.
Mute, Kels.
Sorry about that. I don't think it's a big deal. I think Georgia's a big dog in this situation, and Saban knew that last year. He's known that the past couple of years. He knows that when he plays the Georgia Bulldogs, he got to put his pants on the right way. You got to go ahead, buckle up your chin straps, and you got to go to war. I think that him saying this is him understanding that maybe he thinks in his mind he was the only guy that could actually beat Kirby Smart. I think if he takes himself out of the equation, he thinks, well, these other guys can't beat him. I'm the only one that comes close to beating Georgia. So I could understand that in his analysis and going, well, if I'm not there, then nobody can get him. Right. And that may just be Saban talking from the GOAT, speaking from up there way higher than everybody else. But I think also there's a little bit of realistic, it's like a real appeal that the Alabama fans have to take now to understand that you are not the front runners in the SEC anymore. And it's going to take time for you guys to actually get that throne back.
Yeah. There's not an active coach in FBS that has beat Kirby.
Do you possibly see a playoff scale from 1 to 10? Like, what's the chances of them making the playoffs?
Bama?
Yeah. Because
on a scale of 1 to 10, or like a percentage?
Well, give me a percentage then, if that's.
Pull up their schedule this year. I'm not extremely familiar.
I'll take like a 60% chance. I think like 3 SEC
teams
teams make it.
It's more than a 50% chance for sure. I agree with you there.
I mean, yeah, multiple SEC teams will make it. I think maybe even the team that doesn't make the conference championship might make it this year. Because, I mean, just me thinking about it, the number 3 SEC team makes it over a 12-0 Liberty to me. I'm sorry. It just does.
You could have, say if the SEC, the way that it shakes out, you could probably have Georgia might be the only one that gets a bye because of how the schedule is going to shake out. I think Georgia might be the only one that gets a bye, but how many total games do we have that wouldn't be buys? Top 4 seeds, the conference champions would be buys for 12.
Yeah. So the top 4 teams get buys. Everybody else is kind of like playing.
You can have Alabama, Georgia, Texas, LSU, and a potential shakedown between Ole Miss, Oklahoma, depending on what Oklahoma's schedule looks like. Because a lot of these SEC teams that obviously have been in the SEC, there's going to be a lot of those games that are going to be circled around to where some of these teams are going to be beating another team and losing to the other team, obviously, when people are highly ranked. But Western, dub. USF, dub. Wisconsin, dub. Georgia, L. Vanderbilt, dub. Carolina, dub. Tennessee, dub. Mizzou, trap game. In Missouri, at home, dub. LSU game, that could be an L in Baton Rouge. Mercer, dub. Oklahoma, in Norman, could be a trap game. I'm going to go with dub. Auburn, Blue, shout out to you. This is going to be an upset, Auburn, this year. Shout out, Blue. He's a little late to the podcast. I'm going Auburn upset this year, Iron Bowl. We're going to upset Kalen's first year as a head coach of the University of Alabama, and Blue's going to go out there and show these boys Auburn's not here to be messed around with. I still like it. Three losses maximum this season and a playoff seed.
A playoff seed with 3 losses?
Yeah.
I guess.
I take a 3-loss Alabama team over a 2-loss Notre Dame team because Notre Dame wants to play the season how Notre Dame likes to play it by just they automatically get a pass because they don't have to play a conference championship game. You know what I mean? Like, we're going through the schedule of what the SEC has to do with how many teams are ranked this year. I take a 3-loss Alabama team in the playoffs over a 2-loss Notre Dame team. 100%. Easily.
Okay. All right. Now, let's get into – it's only like a couple of games in week 0. Only one of them is even remotely interesting. But, beggars can't be choosers. We just happy that football's back. Florida State, Georgia Tech. A lot of people are saying that this ain't no gimme for Florida State, right? Not even close. And I kind of fear for DJ because Georgia Tech, that secondary might be the strongest part of that team. So if he comes out and he ain't looking too hot, I mean this might not start off too good in this final year of college eligibility. But just overall, Georgia Tech is a team that has progressively gotten better over the past couple of seasons, doubling that win total. And then, you look at what they bring back, man. When I look at this game, I can't confidently pick Florida State. I'm going to pick them to win, but I don't confidently do it. I look at Georgia Tech in that secondary, and if they give DJ a hard time, bro, we may be looking at an upset, in week 0. But what do y'all think? Who do y'all pick for this game?
I'm gonna start the animosity off for week 0. Give me Georgia Tech. Give me Georgia Tech because this is my pick on the reason why I'm saying Georgia Tech. Yes, Florida State has lost some talent. They still are extremely loaded at talent at certain positions. Their defense is good. There's no doubt about it. Their defense is good. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have some controversy happen because what happens after a couple bad drives by DJ and they throw, was it Rodemaker? Is that how you pronounce it?
He's gone.
He's gone still?
Yeah.
Who? That makes it even more interesting. For some reason, I thought he was still there. Who is their guy behind him?
I'll check.
Is it the guy that after Rodemaker got was it the concussion? He only played for like a half?
It could be. That guy barely played, yeah. Let me see though.
Because when did Rodemaker's concussion happen? Was that I think it was the Florida game. like end of the season, where he was out for like a half, and they brought in the other. I think he was a freshman.
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember in my head right now. Anyways, I think
Another
there's going to be a
quarterback is Brock Glenn,
who is that guy?
redshirt freshman.
All right, so DJ, couple bad drives, then it's going to be down to the oh crap, we got to either keep playing them and see what happens, because if the scoreboard's not looking too hot and you got to pull the quarterback, what happens when you got to pull the quarterback and you got somebody that's no experience, not proven? It could get ugly. But I like Georgia Tech.
If
I like
The boy picked the Yellow Jackets.
Georgia Tech. I'm going with the animosity for week 0.
I say that this is a super big game for week 0. Like, to have a week 0 be this weighted, like it's literally a conference game. Like, whoever wins this game is gonna be first in the ACC. But I think I'm gonna take Florida State to win this game. I think Florida State last year, they really crashed and burned. We think about their season, how it went. They were 13-0. They lose their starting quarterback. They try to play a big game in the bowl game, get whooped on. Into the offseason kind of seemed a little bit shameful for a lot of Florida State, the program itself. I think coming out this year, they're going to come out with a chip on their shoulders, and they also need to have a lot to prove. You know, you think about Florida State, they want to be able to show guys like, look, like we're really back. Like last year was supposed to be the coming out party. They don't make the playoffs. This year, I know a lot of those returning guys really want to show everybody that we are still playoff caliber. Right. Mm-hmm. And we even have a star quarterback now in DJU. So, even when Clay brings up the point that if DJ has a couple of bad series out there, that could be a thing, but also there's no going back from this, right? Let's talk about the backup quarterback. This is it. This team is going to have to really pull from within and find a way to win this game. But I really can't see Florida State losing at this point. Maybe they lean on their running game that heavy and decide to put more of their weight on Georgia Tech. A lot of people have spoke about Mike Norvell and his recruiting prowess. They said that he's really been developing a lot of depth with this team. So I like to see that on full showcase against a Georgia Tech team that, simply might be a real top heavy.
I'm trying to find, there was a thing that was up today on Twitter from one of like the Index Analytics, whatever, accounts. Let me try to get this back up there. Sorry. One of the analytics accounts of the history between FSU and what's going on here? There we go. FSU and Georgia Tech in terms of like the spreads and ability to cover. I think it could be one of those things where it's like out of the blue.
Yo, Blue, we were talking about Florida State, Georgia Tech, and how this is not an easy game for Florida State at all. I personally think the secondary is probably the strongest part of Georgia Tech's team, and which could make it hard for DJ. You know what I'm saying? And after, just like Clay said, after a few bad drives, if this man ain't getting it done, you bench him. It's too much that can go wrong, man. If he ain't what he's supposed to be. So I picked Florida State. I'm just not confident in it. Clay and Kelly, they picked Georgia Tech. Who you going with or what?
I did not pick Georgia Tech, but on the record, I picked Florida State. FSU.
He said, on the record, go Noles.
I think it's going to be closer than expected. I think Georgia Tech covers. I think it's somewhere in that 7 to 10 point range. Listen, man, that freshman wide receiver or now sophomore wide receiver they got, was it Singleton? That kid's a monster at Georgia Tech. I think he's a stud. I think Georgia Tech's going to be better than expected. They competed really well with some teams that were kind of overmatched them last year. But, bro, Florida State should be the more talented team at every position. If Florida State doesn't win this game, we're going to have a whole different conversation about what the ACC is going to be this year and what Mike Norvell's really building at Florida State. I think they find a way to win it, man. I'd be shocked to see Georgia Tech pull the upset, but I do think, bro, it's week 0. Everyone's going to be a little rusty. I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia Tech made this game way closer than you think.
Bringing back some experience on the team and going into a new offense, new quarterback, and then like we were just talking about, there's no depth behind DJ. So what happens if the strongest point of Georgia Tech's team is going to be the secondary, makes something weird, confidence gets a little bit in his head, maybe an early pick, and maybe composure level isn't there. I mean, it can go in Georgia Tech's favor. Obviously, Florida State's extremely talented, and they should win the game by default. But I like, for some reason, I see a 10.5 point spread as a money line, and I like a cover there.
Okay. So, all right, Blue. Let me go back and just ask you your opinion on a few of these topics. So the NCAA, a lot of the 4 major conferences are in favor of moving, getting rid of the spring transfer portal window. How do you feel about that?
Okay, so as media, I love it because, bro, I don't think people understand the work we have to do to figure out some of these rosters sometimes. Like, it's going to be so nice to maybe know the rosters way earlier, but I don't like it. What I would like to see more is to shorten each window, have a short window after the season. And then if you don't win your spring battles, have a short window after the spring where you can go find a new place where you maybe compete for a starting job. And also, too, let's be honest, guys, we all know what holes each team has way better after spring than we do after December. So I think the spring window is helpful. What I think is really happening is it's making it really hard to manage rosters because we talk about guys who don't win battles transferring out. What happens is you have a breakout star in spring and he hits the portal. And I think that's what coaches are concerned about. Do you remember who was the wide receiver for Colorado that had that insane spring game 2 years ago? And then all of a sudden he dipped because everyone was like, oh, we want him. Is it Lamonius Craig?
Yep, that's
What's
him.
the kid's name?
He's out of Arizona.
That's why this is happening. It's because players are having breakout springs and they're leaving for more money. That's really the reason they're trying to get rid of it. So I understand it, but I don't love it.
Okay. And where did he end up going?
Was it Arizona?
Arizona.
All right. Okay. And we didn't talk about this during the offseason, but Paul Feinbaum's comments on Dabo Swinney saying, his career is in the rearview mirror. And I mean, this is the first time in almost 10 years that Dabo hasn't won 10 games. So that I feel like it's kind of a little bit of a ridiculous statement. I feel like we're being too harsh on him, as do Clay and Kelly. But how do you feel?
He gets a lot of hate, but at the same time, if he chooses not to adapt to the new age of college football, I don't know if this is necessarily not true. Because if you don't utilize the portal, you're not winning at the level that Dabo wants to win. So I think I get the frustration because to me, do you guys know how good Clemson would be recruiting the transfer portal? Do you know how many kids want to go play for Clemson? The ACC would be a wrap, in my opinion, if Clemson really started getting into the portal. So I think it's his stubbornness that might be putting his career in the rearview mirror, but I still think he's a good football coach. Let's be honest, Clemson's got coming out of the high school ranks, if they can keep kids for 3-4 years, those guys are going to the league. So he's still a good coach. I just think it's his stubbornness. And I think we saw Nick Saban evolve. We saw some of these older, really good coaches evolve to the game. Dabo hasn't, and I think eventually the game's going to pass him up. So maybe it's not true right this second, but 5 years from now, if he still chooses not to use the portal, I don't think Clemson's a championship program.
Yeah. All right. And, before we get back on track, let's talk about Floyd.
Oh, that's a wrap. That's a bunch of L's on that screen right there.
I'm with you. Hey, listen. Take it a little easy on me, though, because we were just talking about Bama, and I said I like Auburn for the upset this year to welcome in the new coach in Alabama.
I appreciate it, but I don't think Billy Napier's winning anything at Florida. I can't reciprocate it.
What, in your opinion, what's a successful season for Florida looking at the schedule? Like
bowl eligibility?
Oh my God.
6 wins?
Yeah.
I mean, bro, I just don't even see a way to get to 8, right?
In theory, no.
No chance. Because, I mean, Sanford's a win. Mississippi State's a win. UCF isn't a guarantee, but Florida's better than UCF roster-wise. I think they get that one. But outside of those 3, man, like, what, 50-50 games or worse? A&M at home, maybe you give them, so that's 4. But at Tennessee is insane with Nico because I think they're going to be that good. Cam Ward's at Miami. They're not beating Miami this year, in my opinion. Kentucky, let's give them Kentucky. So what, that's 5?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the 6th win come?
In that stretch of games, yeah.
LSU or FSU?
Yeah, I think, and the bad part is on the road at FSU might be the easiest game in that 5-game stretch. Because
Yeah.
I'll say this: yes, they
agree.
lost Jaden Daniels. Nussmeier is not a scrub, and Nussmeier can spin it. And LSU still has plenty of talent, and that's a rivalry game, so LSU is going to be up for that game regardless of what the record is. So, yeah, maybe LSU or Florida State, but I think Florida State's probably the most gettable game, even on the road.
All right, well, Clay, bro.
It's gonna be a tough one, but I'm excited. I don't know if
Start
you were
Lagway. Just start Lagway. Just let them get that experience, man, because y'all ain't winning nothing this year.
But I also don't want it to be one of those things where you're going to put this kid out there in the hardest schedule in the country, and I don't want his confidence getting messed up. I want him to sit back and learn and kind of just develop a little bit, hit that weight room, get a little bit exposed. They're not going to redshirt him. He's going to be appearing in games, but I don't want his going out there and you just throw him to the wolves. Let the kid kind of go through it and see certain situations. If we're getting blown out in a game against Texas or Georgia or whatever, down 21 plus whatever, throw him out there and let him kind of get a little bit comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't want him to go out there and waste his legs by trying to make plays and be flashy, but I want the kid to actually get a full development, because this year doesn't mean anything to his career. Next year,
that's true.
He gets the keys to the gate, and from there we got the next 2 seasons probably.
Yeah,
it's your show, and that's it.
All right. So now we're at the end part of the show. Overreaction, not an overreaction. I only got 3 that I saw. So from an actual show about bold takes or whatever, they got a little bit bold. But let's start it off. Overreaction, not overreaction. Bama misses the playoffs in their first year without Nick Saban.
No.
Overreaction.
Overreaction.
Bro, it's a 12-team playoff now. If it was a 4-team, not an overreaction. Like, they're probably not in the 4-team playoff. But, bro, SEC is getting what, guys? 5 teams in the playoffs, possibly?
Yeah. Ole Miss, LSU, Georgia, Texas, and Bama.
Yeah, and maybe Tennessee, if Nico shines, would be in that conversation too.
Yeah. And then, you could, depending on their schedule, you can make a case for Oklahoma even sneaking in there.
Okay. All right. So next one, like I said, they were getting pretty bold. Florida upsets Georgia this year.
I don't think that's realistic. It's not realistic, but at the same time, as rivalry games happen, we weren't supposed to beat them that one year with Mullen when we had Trask and Kyle Pitts.
I never root for injuries, but unless Carson Beck is on the sideline in street clothes and they're missing like a few starters, maybe that was not an overreaction. But fully healthy versus fully healthy, man. Georgia's going to be so good next year.
Right. On August 23rd, that's an overreaction.
Yeah.
All right. Last one. Shedeur Sanders should be the Heisman favorite.
I think it's not overreaction. I think there's a world where somebody really believes that and somebody could actually vote for that. And do I think he is? No, but I think there's a world where that could be true.
Yeah, I mean, he's a quarterback, probably top 5 in that conversation. So I don't know if it's an insane overreaction, but I agree with Kel. I don't think he's the Heisman favorite personally. I don't even think he's the top favorite on his own team.
Oh, you think Travis is?
Yeah, for sure.
You want to hear something bold? I had this conversation last night playing college football, actually. Somebody that I wouldn't be surprised, this is not saying that they're going to win it, but somebody I would not be surprised, depending on how their season could shake out, winning the Heisman this year, Quinn Ewers.
I don't think that's a surprise, right? He's probably one of the favorites.
I would say more than likely, depending on how the season shakes out, I would probably guess the favorite might be Milroe, but it's going to be dependent on some wins and some losses and new coach, potential new. I mean, going to be a new offense, obviously, but Quinn shaking it out. I mean, Donovan Edwards, maybe?
No.
I think it's Carson Beck. Like, I look at Carson Beck in the same light that I looked at Mark Ingram, where there's like this long stretch where Georgia really hasn't had a true Heisman contender, similar to Bama did under the Saban era. I think Carson Beck is like the guy to kick it off. You guys remember, like, who was it? Was it Toby Gerhart and Ndamukong Suh were behind Ingram, and they both probably were more deserving. I think if Beck goes for 3.5K passing, another 30 touchdowns, I think they give it to him, especially if Georgia wins the SEC. I think they're going to hand it to a Georgia player this year. And if it's not him, I think you could consider Ewers. I think Cam Ward, in my opinion, could be up there, especially getting out of Washington State. Let's just be honest, it's hard to go win a Heisman at a school like Washington State. If he takes if Miami wins the ACC and Cam throws for 4K, I think they're going to hand it to Cam too.
Yeah. You think there's any skill players out there that have a chance at winning it in terms of
Travis?
No, you don't think there's any shot for Donovan Edwards?
I think
they're going
Michigan
to pound the rock
rotates
because they got their a new quarterback, and then their receiver room is really not that good.
I think they rotate too much. Like the same reason that Corum couldn't win it is because Donovan Edwards was taking carries. They're still deep at running back. Maybe an interesting one. I just don't know if this team's going to be good enough. Luther Burden is a very interesting player because they're just going to feed Luther Burden. Nobody else on that offense is going to be good because they lose in that running back, right?
I think he went to the draft.
Yeah, so they don't really have any other offensive weapons. The other skill player, I'm just trying to think like who's the McMillan kid at Arizona, but I don't think that's a big enough school to really get any consideration in terms of skill position. I can't think of another one though that would be up there with Travis. I think it's Travis and everybody else.
Yeah.
All right. Let me ask y'all, are y'all buying into the hype that this kid is that kid from South Carolina is gonna have a big year, Nicholas Harvard?
I was actually just getting ready to bring that up. I swear I was getting ready to bring that up as a topic of the hype that this kid's happening. I think I watched and went back to kind of like look and see like what's everyone really talking about? From a sheer size point and his athletic ability, he has the ability. There's no question about that. He is not Olympic, like show up to the Olympic speed, but he is definitely in that ballpark of his 6'5", almost 240, with a vert that's similar to almost what was it, like 38 or 39, something like that. 39-inch vertical, running a 100-meter dash in like 10.3. I mean, the kid he's a freak of nature. Problem is they're bringing in a freshman quarterback. Not freshman, he's going to be Lenora Sellers ended up being their quarterback, and are they really doing anything in the quarterback room in South Carolina? No.
That's all I gotta say.
I hate to say it, bro, but like most of that hype for him is coming off of that Furman game. It's Furman. Yep. It's Furman. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I get it, but I feel like it's that kid.
It's the same thing with Madden. Like, you guys know how it is. Like, there was always that, like, super high-speed Madden player that everyone would like to play with because he was just a freak on the video game. It's like, it doesn't always translate to real life, because speed isn't all that matters. And I just don't think he has a good quarterback. Like, let's not forget Robbie Ashford was pushing this kid for the starting job. Like, let's be honest here. Like, what is the quarterback room? Like, I think the quarterback room takes a massive step back, even from Spencer Rattler, who I know none of us were really high on as a quarterback either.
No.
So, he ain't looking that bad right now. I'm kind of surprised.
If he has a little bit of strides and stuff, if I was him and you have a little bit of strides and you're trying to talk about having the best possible college career, guys that go to South Carolina are loyal. They are loyal. Them boys eat, sleep, breathe Gamecock football. But if I was him and what kind of like athleticism you have, bro, send me somewhere where they launch the ball all game. 45 times a game, and they launch it. Just absolutely launch it. And see what happens. Because if he plays in a different conference where he's not playing as competitive defenses, he could have some insane seasons just out of his athleticism alone.
Or just send him to LSU. You know how, LSU's wide receiver development has been insane. Could you imagine him in Baton Rouge?
Oh, yeah.
True.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to see Kendrick Law.
Oh, who's that?
From Bama?
I don't know that kid. I'm gonna be honest. I start.
The receiver they have?
I give Bama. I give Bama no shot after station.
They got some freshman corners that are nasty that are coming in.
Like what? Mbakwe? I like him. I do like.
Yeah,
the ball.
but they got one. I think he's from Florida. It's like Zabian, I want to say. Or no,
Yeah.
that's not the Florida, or he might be from Cali. If Florida or Cali, he's like 6'2" or 6'3", like legit, and can run.
He's DB. Like, is he an athlete? Like, he'll be playing both sides?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah, he was an athlete in high school, but he's playing corner. Like they signed 3 5-star cornerbacks in this class, and all 3 will be true freshmen probably playing this year.
I don't know. I mean, okay, no, they'll probably have their rough spots. You know, they freshmen, but I imagine in a couple years that's deadly as hell. But y'all, thank y'all, man, for tuning in. Thank y'all for showing up for the first episode of season 2 of FBS Friday. Season is back. This ain't really a good stretch of games this week, but I'm just happy something to watch. You know what I'm saying? So I'll probably be more tuned into FCS than I FBS this week. But next week is really, it's when it's really gonna get popping. That's when we're really gonna have stuff to talk about. But hey, until next time, thank y'all so much for tuning in. We appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all.
Thank you guys.